It's possible to know enough about that subject to think you're right, but not enough about that subject to know that you're wrong.
I love Neal deGrasse Tyson. And I was watching this episode, nothing to do with government contracting. He was talking about someone who basically called him out on podcasts, and it was somebody that had a little bit of information, but not enough information to know that they were wrong. Let's see what else he has to say here.
There's this sort of valley in there, a valley of false confidence. This has been studied by others. It is called the Dunning-Kruger effect.
This Dunning-Kruger effect really explains government contracting for me. You're just talking about science, but government contracting is similar because we're talking about something that has been regulated for years, thousands and thousands of pages, federal acquisition regulation. You have policy upon policy that is put out by different federal agencies. At one point in the 80s, a contracting officer had to sit through over 50,000 pages in contract law, federal acquisitions regulations, policies, and memos just to be able to put a company on contract. This is something that is enormously complex. And if you talk to anyone that's actually had to do it as a profession for a long time, they will tell you that they understand their piece of it. They understand a little bit of the other pieces, but nobody has the 100% grip on how government contracting actually works. Politicians certainly do not. People that have won a contract or two with the government have just dipped their foot in the water of government contracting. So what I think this explains, this Dunning-Kruger effect, is a lot of people think they know how to win government contracts. A lot of people assume that because they read an article on a general getting in trouble for working with a big defense contractor to get them a contract, all government contracting works that way. That is a very, very rare example when you look at government contracting big picture, right? Since the government is the biggest purchaser of goods and services in the entire world, there are so many, thousands and thousands and thousands of contracts, everything that you could think of. There's so much law and oversight involved that is very rare, actually, that something is blatantly done that's unethical on the government side or on the companies. Now, it does happen. It happens in every industry. But you really have to know and understand and work on it and live it and breathe it to really know that these are extreme cases. But some people will take that information and they'll start reading about just those instances. And then they make a conclusion that the government's corrupt or government contracting is unfair. But in reality, it's quite the opposite. It's probably one of the most fair marketplaces out there. On the other hand, you could have somebody that wins a couple of contracts with the government in a certain industry. It could be anything, right? It could be house painting, right? It could be something to do with construction. It could be in tech. And now they've won a couple contracts, and now they understand government contracting is hard. So you got to ask yourself, what's their background? Why are they teaching? And how can you benefit from it? Right? If it's somebody that has just won a couple of contracts, it's this Dunning-Kruger effect. They think they have, well, first, but in reality, they don't know enough to know that they're wrong.
The phenomenon where a little bit of knowledge, you over-assess how much of that subject you actually know.
All right. If you look at that chart, there's a valley of despair. Funny, because that actually reminds me quite a bit of what we call the valley of death in government contracting. Mainly for tech companies, right? You have a great idea, great technology, great solution. You win a couple of SBIR contracts, government's funding you to develop that technology, but then what happens? Right? There's this valley of despair. So, when we're talking about Dunning-Kruger effect, you could think how government contracting works because you won a couple of SBIR, for instance. But what you don't know is that actually getting a federally funded requirement to put you on a contract for multiple years, there's a 5-year planning process on the DoD side that you have to insert yourself into. And that takes a long time. It's very hard to get into. That's the valley of death. But I think the peak of Mount Stupid is what I love there. Because we really need to ask yourself before you invest any money, before you take anybody's advice that you hear about online or even in books, you have to ask yourself, what is their background? How can they really help you? And should you be taking their advice?
To become an expert means you spend all this time. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't just sit in an orange chair and say, I'm now an expert. It requires years and years of study.
Is this coming from the peak of Mount Stupid where they're telling you can middleman things and it sounds too good to be true? Looks like a get rich quick strategy. I'm telling you right now, if it sounds like a get rich quick or too good to be true, it almost certainly is. Nothing happens government contracting without hard work and persistence combined with a very focused plan for how you're selling. Meaning, you know where you're selling to, you know what office, you know what they need because you've done the research. You've been developing a relationship with them. You don't have to have a relationship going into it. You develop a relationship with people that actually have requirements, the money, and authority to put you in contract. Now that's smart. That's where we get to the other side, the plateau of sustainability. It takes a long time to get there. So we want to get past Mount Stupid and past the valley of despair in government contract. And the way we do that is we start with the data, how the government buys what you sell, how much that they're spending each year. We also look at your competitors. How long did it take them to start winning contracts and start making real money? The reason to get into government contracting isn't for small dollar contracts, get rich quick. It's so much of a pain in the ass to sell to the government that it has to be worth your while, right? So that's why when I'm talking to you about selling things and products, services, we're looking at larger contracts that can sustain you over time. Because now we're talking about income, a revenue source that is reliable, that is going to come in over years. And you start winning these, they start piling up on top of each other. You can have an extremely profitable business, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. So we're looking at those high dollar contracts and we have to build relationships with the people that are buying what you sell. You have to find the opportunities that you're going to engage on before an RFP ever comes out. If you want to learn more, go to gotclosed.com. You can hire one of the experts that we've trained and certified, or you can become an expert yourself. And that for me is really exciting because we're teaching people to build great consulting businesses on their own, how to sell to the government and teach them that. And I'm going to teach them how to start a consulting business. In some cases, they're working with us on different projects afterwards. Some cases, they're going and working for other companies. And, you know, my goal really for everybody is to save you a lot of heartache and to save you money. Some people have no business going into government contracting because you have to have a business to go into government contracting. Some people waste a lot of money chasing squirrels when what they really could have been doing the whole time is working on a focused plan to get to where we want to be. And that's going to take time. Nothing's overnight. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
I love this stuff. Yay!